Thank you for agreeing to do the video testimonial. Could you explain about your daughter's symptoms, what her age was, and what you were like, and what your daughter was like before you joined the program?
Yes, oh my goodness, where do I start? So, to sum it up, I was pretty much a mess. It was something very new to us, and we didn't know where to start. We felt the symptoms just suddenly popped up. It was just after her second birthday. Main symptoms, I would say, were things like not responding to her name, very much keeping herself to herself, majorly a lot of jumping up and down constantly. Um, and it just felt like she, if it makes sense, wasn't really kind of at peace with herself all the time. She just felt like she was very unsettled, and it was very sad to see. Um, as parents, for us, obviously, just to see her like that was very upsetting. And I think we first mentioned it at her 2 years review. And NHS being NHS, they weren't very certain or very confirmed in answers. They said that's absolutely fine. We will get her on a waiting list to be seen. But there is a wait up to 6 to 8 months, and that was just kind of just to be seen as the first step. And for us, we just felt as though we wanted to do something as parents straight away. Made a few calls with her GP, pediatricians, and it was just like running around the bush, to be honest. We didn't really get very far. Everyone kept acknowledging it and writing down and putting you on a waiting list for people to contact you. And we thought, okay, that's fine. Still felt helpless, not knowing where to go. In the meantime, every day, just seeing your child kind of really unsettled. It's almost like seeing your child unwell every day and you not being able to help her because it's not like a obvious physical illness that you know where they're in pain, which you can help with a specific thing. It's not an infection where you can assist with something to go away. And then we just felt really lost. As a mother, as a father, it was something so new and it was very upsetting for us. I think I came across you from a friend's referral, to be honest. And she was just speaking about it, and she said that we heard about the testimonial, and Tiber's own son went through this, and the age and everything matched up with my daughter as well. So I thought, it's worth a try. In desperation, you do. We spoke to you, and I think that very first phone call was just very soothing for me. I don't know, you just addressed things very well, alhamdulillah. Um, and they say a mother's intuition because the day I made that phone call to you, we were considering stem cell therapy in Germany, and we were 90% sure that we were going through with it. And we were thinking about tickets and planning it around, what time and so on. But I spoke to you, and I can't say you were forceful and you didn't say, I think you should go with my program or something, but some things you did say I could just really relate to. And then I think the main thing was where you said, look, instead of going for something so evasive, medicinal and, injections and things like that, my course is based on dietary, and supplements and so on. I think it's worth a try for you and you can see for yourself. I think it was a bit difficult because my husband was weighing towards the stem cell therapy. I think I spoke to you about it.
Actually,
And obviously, as parents, it has to be a joint decision. And you sit down, and I think it was just my mother's intuition. I really wanted to go with this course. And I think I sat down and I said to my husband, there's nothing to lose. It's not like cell therapy where, she'll be having injections and IV stuff. And why not? So we did go through with the course. And I have to say, It's been miraculous. I think just how much um, just food and dietary, the guidance you gave, and specifically sticking to the detox plans and so on. I think we started seeing a difference within 2 months. Major differences. This is my daughter had a lot of sensory issues where she didn't like to keep clothes on, especially her trousers. And along the course, following the detoxes and then going on to the special plan that you give and the advice of what to use and whatnot. She's now not only wearing her trousers, she happily wears her socks and even tights. Her jumping has really, really reduced. She used to constantly jump up and down to an extent where it used to hurt our eyes to look at her, you know? We used to think, oh, that's going to hurt your head. Stop, you know. I'm talking about it now, but I think before I started the course, even to talk about it, I would be gulping down tears because it's just so upsetting to see, your child go through this. Um, but she's completely stopped. I mean, sometimes when she's happy, she does the happy dance now, and she loves doing the freeze dance. Her speech has come along amazingly since then. I think at the beginning of the course, you say, I would like you to kind of aim for 5 things that you would like to achieve, and we noted things like that down. And I don't know if you can remember because it's a little bit far down, but it was just like I used to say, just to hear mummy, daddy, or, something from her. And alhamdulillah, she does. We've heard her say mummy, she will say mummy happily. Her speech has come along amazing.
Mashallah. So happy for the result you got for your daughter. What I remember is that she started the program when she was about 2 years and 3 months old, really, really burnt out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really burnt out and really depressed. And like you said, always so close to tears, crying. And it was really, really emotional for you. And you kept saying, I just want to do what's best for her. And I'm so glad that your intuition, because you had to fight your husband a little bit.
Yes, yeah. Men always want to kind of just jump to the most physical thing that they can see in front of them happen, like quite simultaneously, if not instantly, to kind of fight with the reasoning of, well, we might need a little bit of patience with this, but I just have this feeling that we will have better results. And alhamdulillah, I can say hands on, we have been amazingly astonished, grateful forever to you with this course, and obviously the blessings from God. Yeah.
And also just so to touch on your daughter first before we go into other things. I remember one of the other symptoms and like the videos we were sending, she was wide awake in the middle of the night. And the kind of you spoke about that. Also, one thing that really bothered you, when she wasn't responding to her name, she would run off and you're like, I'm scared, take her anywhere. Lopes so much. And she would when you call her, she doesn't respond to her name.
No. Oh my God, I think just kind of responding to what you've just said, I think that was one of the main reasons for burnouts for me, and my husband, because she used to just wake up in the middle of the night and she used to be so full of energy and just awake and just ready to go with her day. And she's only been on like 2.5 hours sleep or something like that. And we, of course, had to be awake with her. She was just so restless because you could see she's tired, but she just, I don't know, just felt the need to go on and get her toys or jump in bed. And it was awful to see because you could see that she's so tired and she just needed sleep, but something in her mind was telling her that she needs to be wide awake. And that was horrible to see. And then not responding to her name, she just wouldn't even understand or look back at all. And she would just run as soon as we opened the door. If you didn't hold her, she would just run with no sense of danger, no sense of where she's going. Even if she fell, she'd carry on. But alhamdulillah, now she will look back for us. She'll take a few steps forward and then she'll look back to see if, her siblings are behind her, or if mum's behind her or dad's behind her, or, if she's still a toddler and, magically she's not going to be the most well behaved, and she does sometimes just see something that she likes and she'll run towards it.
Yeah.
But we know it's because she's eager. Like, for example, if it's, a toy that she sees or a picture of Mickey Mouse, she'll run towards it. But she just has that sense where we would kind of call out her name and she will look back.
Yeah.
Sometimes still, maybe not with the first call or the second call, but she does know, you can visibly see that difference, where it's a major difference. And, it's nothing short of a miracle for us. It's just been so big.
What I remember is that you started the September group program, but
Yeah.
in August you did a family holiday. December you did a family holiday. What was the difference between the family holiday you took in August with your 2-year-old daughter and the family holiday you took in December with your 2-year-old daughter after doing 4 months of the program?
Yeah, so I don't know if you remember, I did message you in August. Um, this was just for some advice because we initially wanted to start before, and then we decided to start the course in September. So I already had your contact details and we had that brief chat, and you've been amazing with contacting us. Thank you so much and keeping in touch. But I don't know if you remember, in August, we were just really burnt out on the holiday. The plane journey was awful, where she wasn't settled. She just wanted to run out of the seat. She was agitated, meltdowns, tantrums, just waiting to board was horrible. There was just no calm in her. There was, she didn't know how to kind of hold a gadget, even to watch anything on the mobile, let alone kind of navigate any toys or anything like that. So Sorry. So it was very difficult to find things to keep her occupied with. Sometimes, you can keep toddlers occupied with their favorite toys, favorite shows to watch and things, but it was very difficult because she was so overwhelmed that it was even difficult to get her attached to a favorite toy or know what she liked doing. But 4 months into the course, we dared to take another holiday in December because we thought, oh, we're seeing improvements and alhamdulillah, there was changes. Let's see how it goes. And it was actually a longer duration, and alhamdulillah, she was so much more better.
You did a 4-hour flight in August, 12-hour flight. And what the videos and pictures did you send of your daughter on the flight and the holiday? What was the
Goodness, she
transformation
was
of 4 months?
Yep, she was reading books, reading as though enjoying the pictures in the books. She was pointing at them. She was drawing with crayons. She held a LCD board and she was drawing faces. I don't know if you remember, she was drawing pictures. Yeah.
Her drawings are better than your older kids' drawings.
Yeah, and she was just so calm and settled. And there were toddlers on the plane where we could see that weren't on the spectrum, obviously, that were speaking and having conversations and so on. But they were so unsettled, and parents were so run down with walking up and down the aisle and trying to settle them and hold them from running off and things like that. But she was just so occupied, and it was so good to see because finally, I don't know how to say it. I think she understood how to kind of utilize a phone. Some parents are like, we don't want to give too many gadgets to our children, we don't want screen time and this and that. But for us, it was like, wow, she's picking up the phone and she's navigating through the videos.
I actually remember one of the videos you sent me of your daughter was her playing normally with toys.
Yes.
She never used
to be able to play normally with toys, like with the dolls, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
she's doing role play with dolls, like
as
Yes.
2.5-year-old
That
should.
was the other thing. Yeah, in 4 months she started to do role playing. So we went from a completely non-verbal child who was having constant meltdowns, stimming day and night, to like a much calmer child who's just started to one day wake up and role play with her dolls, putting them to sleep, baby sleeping
Yeah.
and eating. And it's just, the feeling is just out of the world. It's sometimes like a dream, because when you think back to the kind of feelings that you have initially, as soon as you get faced with something like that with any child, it's difficult. It's very difficult. And I don't think anyone can relate to it or understand quite unless they're going through it or they are going through it. It's just quite difficult. But yes, I mean, I'd like to say that patience, perseverance, and this course has just made such a difference. And I think, all parents can finally and should finally have hope for their children instead of just accepting what NHS tell them.
So, Khadija, I actually remember when we had our consultation call in the summer before you started the September group program. You told me later on about this, but I told you in the consultation, oh, the NHS don't really do anything.
They're going to put you
Yes.
on a waiting
Waiting list, and
Yeah.
then they'll spot.
first of all, the therapies they suggest, like speech and language therapy, occupational therapy,
Yes.
They don't address.
the root causes of autism.
No.
Like the program teaches you what the root,
Teach.
and they don't really do anything. Like you'll give it like realistically 3 or 4 months until you have a speech and language therapy assessment, and then after that, maybe like 3 months later, you'll have half an hour speech and language therapy appointment every like 3 or 4 weeks, and that's not really going to be a game changer to help. What I had told you all of this, and then you had told me that when I was speaking to you, when I had said that to you initially in the consultation call, you had the thought in your mind, I'm sure they do something, like they must be exaggerating, they must do something. What actually happened from when you initially contacted the NHS to by the time, like, you've done about 4 months of the program, she was making amazing progress, so much calmer, sleeping through the night, eye contact was there, responding to her name, started
Yes.
saying words, understanding was there. What support have you gotten from the NHS in the last year since you presented to them?
We're still on the waiting list for the pediatricians. We just about 4 months ago got speech and language therapist.
8 months after you got put on the speech and language therapy, months later.
8 months.
So 8 months later, we started to get an appointment. The first appointment we got was, we actually had a visit before we got an appointment to see an S. Now we had a visit. And when she came in, she obviously made some observations of my daughter. And we started your course. And after the December holiday, she came back and she said, "Oh my goodness, I see such a difference in her. She's actually aware of me being in my room." And my daughter was actually going over to the therapist and she was looking at her nail polish. She was saying pen, pen, and trying to take her pen. And she said, "It's like I'm in a different house, a different child altogether." And I said, "Yeah, she's made some vast improvements." And I did tell her about, I think the thing that is so astonishing is I told her about yourself and
I said,
yeah, your program. And I said it's all, based on dietary needs and, a strict plan.
And the nervous system.
Nerve system, how to stimulate it, how, your reflexes and things like that. And they seem to have the general knowledge, but why they don't apply it in the NHS, she said to me, "That is amazing. Yep, it's excellent. And I'm not surprised it works." And I thought in my head, why do you not implement it in the NHS?
Why don't you?
No one talks about it.
Yeah.
No one talks. The things that you told us about, we would never have known till this day unless you told us about it. And that's such a shame, because there are so many children now that are suffering at different levels, albeit, but they
Yeah.
would really benefit from it. And I think, you know, this is why I agreed to do this call with you as well, because I think as much as we can put it out there, I think I will have to genuinely put my hand up and kind of say, when I first looked into your program before talking to you, and I thought to myself, well, how much can diet and a program like this change a child? You know, I
Yeah.
can't lie, it was in my head, and I think this is the thought that a lot of people might have, because I think nowadays people look into things that look a lot more harsher or evasive, and they automatically think that will work better. That
Yes.
is not the case, because I spoke to a person that did go for stem cell therapy,
Right.
and I think it was yourself, yes.
What did
She
that woman
wanted,
say to you, sadly?
She's sadly still paying off the fees for the payment plan of the stem cell therapy, and it has not worked.
Because
Alhamdulillah, when she spoke to you,
and
yeah, that woman who you spoke to had done stem cell therapy. After this, that she said after 2 weeks of the stem
he,
cell happening, he was 3 times as worse. There's no reversal.
no, it was heartbreaking to speak to her. She
Yeah.
felt so helpless, and she said, you know, I'm in the process of trying to claim back against the company, but I'm just lumbered with my son. That's so much worse now.
He started stimming all night and not sleeping. But no, it is really awful. I think it's stem cell therapy is very dangerous, and it does
yeah,
not address the root causes of autism, which is
no,
really to do with stem cells. And you can see that because of the difference you've seen in your child.
yeah,
We didn't really do anything. We did not do stem cell therapy. Transformation in a few months.
yes,
Yeah.
Mashallah.
absolutely.
And another really good memory I have is that when you were doing the program, about 2 or 3 months into doing it with me, you said you had a relative come round, and the relative had her own son who was also a toddler, and the relative and then you were really hesitant about letting your daughter have a play date, and you didn't want people to realize anything about her. Husband said to you, oh no, we should let her have a play date, like she's come along so much.
Yeah,
And then the cousin and their son came over, who was roughly the same age as your daughter, 3 years old as well, and your daughter was just sharing her toys, hugging the relatives that came round.
It was
Yeah.
talking to them.
And
yeah,
that relative was like, what nursery does your daughter go to? Because
It was actually her bringing out her blocks, and she was not only sharing them, but she was kind of reading out the letters and the numbers. And then she was kind of pointing to the pictures and naming the animals. And then she was like, what nursery does she go to? You know, she's coming along so well, you know, even better. And I thought that feeling was just such a, oh, I can't describe it, because I thought, oh my goodness, there I was thinking, oh, how is she going to get on? And then there's the cousin saying, what nursery does she go to? You know, I wouldn't mind putting my one into there because they must be doing an excellent job.
And I remember you saying, I never thought anyone would ever say they want their child to be more like my child.
Yes, yeah. It
it
And
was
was
you,
just,
so, the feeling was just, oh, I can't describe it, but you know, it's just so special. Honestly, it's just nothing feels better than achieving something for your child, and when you see it in front of your own eyes.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that you're faced with so much uncertainty from the beginning, and you just don't know where to go, or what's right, what's wrong.
this gives a
um,
really good roadmap. I think that's one of the strongest things about the program is that
People
Yes.
don't know
how to help their child, like a really comprehensive roadmap. Child better, calmer, conversational.
yeah,
What's been the nursery's reaction to seeing this transformation in your toddler?
So we have uploads, you know, where they give you updates for the nursery, and now we've even spoken to the nursery practitioner who does the one-to-one, and they're like, she's so much easier to deal with than the other children, because she would just get on and play. She wouldn't mind the other children coming and playing in her, you know, territory now. She loves dancing, singing. It's so nice to see her, you know, be in her self and be happy, you know. And then we have lots of uploads saying it was so amazing to see her play with the different coloured cars and naming the cars. She was giving them names and the colours. And so it's always so nice to see stuff like that. But they've obviously seen a visible difference.
And
And it was so
so shocked, right, when she started to wear tights.
Yeah, they were like, oh, she doesn't mind keeping them on anymore. We haven't had them
Yeah.
flying off as soon as she walks in. And we're like, yes, we're getting there.
I remember
definitely getting there.
after we started some step 6 charge of cerebellum stuff, that was like the key to unlocking her from what I remember the nursery saying, as soon as she comes into the nursery, she would take her trousers off and walk around in her nappy, and they would just make her comfortable in her nappy. And then 2 weeks in starting step 6 charge of cerebellum, nervous system like stuff, what the methods I teach you in the program, you were they were like shocked at the transformation in just 2 weeks. And you've actually been like a big supporter of the program now, so you've been helping future people, like the people who other group programs, to talk about like your first-hand experience with your daughter, because she was quite young, like 2 years old is quite young to do the program. You could see, you know, the signs of autism, the regression, and you wanted to help her. Got a really good result for her. And you don't have to be scared of her future anymore. You can imagine it. You can see a future where she's calmer, conversational, you know, happier, independent, inshallah.
Inshallah, yes, definitely. So, I mean, you come to this point where you can be so hopeful, whereas before it was just a dead end and just you just couldn't see a future, you couldn't think about it. But alhamdulillah, now with all the progression, you think my daughter can do this too, and she can get there, she can achieve this. I see it in her, you know, the potential is there, and it's just like unlocking it for them. I cannot, you know, express it enough. It is so effective, alhamdulillah. So
one of my goals is to teach everyone, like my long-term vision is to teach everyone that autism isn't just genetic, it's epigenetic. Like changing the environment can decrease your child's symptoms.
Yes.
And people
To an
don't believe
extent
that.
where they can even
lose the diagnosis.
Absolutely.
Because it's such a
Huge.
major, it causes such a major change. So it's possible, and I've witnessed this at first hand. You know, supporting you all the way with, you know, getting this out there, because I know what it feels like, what other people in our boat, same position, are feeling like, and there really is hope and a future. So hopefully everyone can benefit from it.
In my last video testimonial, the parent was saying that the rhetoric she heard from the NHS was every time she'd go there and complain about her child's behavior, like he's doing this, he didn't acknowledge the baby, he didn't do this, they would just say, oh, it's because he's autistic. Like that's an explanation. But she said every time she spoke to me, I actually gave her some biological reason of what was happening. So is that have you said the same thing? Like, what do you think about that?
Absolutely, I would say that, because with issues, even with, for example, with the speech and language, even recently, they gave us some occupational therapy where it was kind of attending after your course. I think we attended one of them and we didn't go to the rest
You know
of
what
them.
they're doing, do they?
No, you know, the responses we get from them were very dead-ended, and it was, like you said, very focused on, well, you know, the children on the spectrum are like this. But with you, if there was a concern, you were like, oh, try making this change, you know, tomorrow, maybe change your diet a little bit, or for a bit, or maybe spread it out. There was always something to do. It wasn't, the answer wasn't, well, you know what, most children like this are like this. It wasn't a dead-ended response. I think that's helped me a lot, and I really did kind of find your advice, and just having you there as a support backup was just major for me as a mum as well, because I was coming to you with a lot of queries and you never turned your back. So thank you very much. That was
The videos you send me of your daughter I love it, honestly, and how much, like all the stories of how much calmer she is now. It's just much and like how much happier she is within herself, how like the
Definitely.
videos are playing with her siblings now. Even the stories like her hugging relatives she doesn't know, like she knows how to greet people now. And she was only
Yes.
2.5 when that happened. Fast change. You wouldn't people don't expect 2.5-year-old to do that, like even neurotypical ones, because
Did it
No,
feel
she
for adult?
really did thrive. She
Uh,
caught up so, so well. I mean, I can't say it enough. I say it to you all the time. Obviously, like sometimes during the course, you will have setbacks when they, don't feel well and things like that. And that's, sometimes with us parents, we can kind of have down days and up days. That's with anything. But obviously, just seeing the major change, it overflows any kind of downtime, honestly. But I think my advice to everyone would be, just to step onto the course because it honestly makes such a difference. And it's not something that they would have to kind of wait to hear from someone else because when they start seeing the difference in their own children, I
yeah,
mean, there's nothing far from, and just educating yourself about it because along the way, it's like you're giving the parents proper coaching, training
yeah,
them anyway. So it's all you're self-sufficient doing it in your own home, not having to go to centres, not
yeah.
having to kind of take time off and go and get involved in things with other practitioners. It's just all
And,
so convenient, and I think
and
that's what helped us.
that's why one of the reasons I named the company Autism Brain Empowerment, because I wanted
Yes.
to empower the parents to help their own child
Yeah.
in their own
Absolutely.
home. You don't have to wait for the NHS. You know exactly how to help your child. You don't have to wait for the school system. So I think another thing that I told you, like how many children have done my program or doing my program, where they are like 9 years old in the SEND school, they're still in nappies, and they're still, having meltdowns and put bad sleep. And then
Mhm.
during the program, they get calmer, they're more alert, they're able to come out on nappies. It's not like this, that's not the primary focus of schools, and they don't have the resources or the training, really.
No.
No,
and
they don't give any training. They don't. I think it's just
Oh, that's
simply
my program.
most of those
absolutely
places
not.
are very good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. No, I think this support that's kind of in a bubble for the NHS is almost like just a label to say, yep, you're on the, kind of waiting list and you're ticked off. That's it. And the real support, like I think we did have a speech and language therapist come over about two, three times. And it was like, what, 20 minutes at most? And she was just kind of letting my daughter get on with her stuff and observing her. And I thought, well, what kind of support is this?
Few times in the last 12 months. And by then she was already talking because you had already done my program, because that.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm really, 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 really happy for your daughter looking at SEND schools. And I was like, no, you don't need to look at a SEND school.
Yeah.
Well,
I
Think we were thinking about the future and well, actually, to be honest, the when I had the call, we still are on the waiting list for the pediatrician. I don't know if I spoke to you about this, but we had the first call in about 12 months, and she did give us a visit about last week, this was. And I did sit down and I said, well, what do you think? Do we need to think about mainstream or SEND school? And she actually turned around and she said to me, your daughter is actually very intelligent. And I think she's caught up a lot with her milestones. I don't think she's very far behind. And she said, I think for SEND schools, they're for complex needs,
yeah.
children that will have complex needs. So let's see how she goes. But at the moment, I don't think I would be even thinking about a SEND school for her. And I was
I
just like,
also,
wow.
but I think she can talk now, she can
yeah.
communicate, and
Yeah.
I think the main thing is she's so much calmer. So she
Yeah.
can settle in a group classroom and follow
Yeah.
instruction
Absolutely. Yeah.
and
She
understand
loves
what the
it.
teacher is saying. She can do joint like reading with the teacher. All of that she can do. She'll definitely get there by 4.5 when she starts primary school.
Yeah.
Inshallah. And then even like the first year of primary school is more play-based, but she's thriving in nursery now. You really, I'm so happy we've changed that for her. Intelligent is literally just to get her calmer Otherwise, like you said, she was very restless before, very hyperactive, always having tantrums and meltdowns and running off. And I think you also said she used to hit her head on the floor and things like that.
Yeah, I think it happened on 2 occasions actually, and I think we started your course very imminently after the second occasion, and it stopped within a week. We didn't have another repeat of it, but she was outside the bathroom and for no obvious reason just dropped herself and was banging her head on the floor. And we just couldn't think about what the reason could be because there wasn't anything that suddenly happened, no toys or anything that was suddenly taken away from her. There was just no reason. So we figured that it was just her and herself, just so
Yeah,
restless, and she
absolutely.
didn't know. And that thankfully has not happened again. And, just in herself, she's just so much calmer. And it's so good to be able to take her out to the supermarket, take her out to, not be afraid of being, if I'm on my own or if my husband's on his own, or are we going to be able to manage with her that feeling, where she's going to jump out of the car seat or jump out of the pushchair. And
Yeah.
just alhamdulillah, we're able to do it so effortlessly now.
So happy for that. I'm so happy for you, Khadija.
Thank
Okay, so one last sentence. I think the answer is pretty obvious, but do you recommend this program for other parents?
100 million, zillion, billion times. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It changed our lives. And I have to say, hands down, it can change so many more people's lives. And I say people's lives, not just the children, because um, it affects everyone in the family. It's like having a sick child at home. And for example, if you devote all your time to that sick child or have to do hospital runs or even be in hospital, it's going to affect your whole family. And this is nothing less because you're mentally drained, physically drained. And if you're not quite 100% there, it will affect if you've got other children or you with your family members, and you kind of start distancing yourself from everyone and everything. And, it's just this course, alhamdulillah, we found it at the right time for us before we really kind of were pit bottom. And that was just fortunate. So, I just like to put it out there rather than waiting, rather than speculating. Just get onto it because it's definitely not harmful and there's nothing to lose. And 2 months, 3 months into the course, if you're seeing life-changing kind of things happening for your child, it's amazing, not only for the child, for the whole family.
Yeah, I agree. It had such an effect on the siblings, but I also and thank you for that recommendation. And I'm really happy that your daughter's doing literally on the program. There are so many stories of children at complete stagnant progress, and then they join the program and they're actually they're actually changing now. Oh, my son and daughter hasn't really changed in the last 3 or 4, 5 years or whatever age that child's at. And now they do the program and they actually making
you. Changes. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that part. It's so effective and I'm really proud of it. Really, really proud of it.
Alhamdulillah. So you should be. Absolutely. You're amazing. Thank you very much. And that's from a parent, bottom of my heart, because honestly,
Such a positive impact on your other children's health as well. Like you have other children, recurrent tonsillitis and other illnesses. And then when you just implemented the same stuff for them, you said that went away as well.
Yeah.
coughs and chest infections, just allergies and things like that. And I implemented these changes, little twinges, not exactly following the course, but little twinges and changes we made for them. And even that made changes for them. We've had an ill-free household for months.
That's so good.
Alhamdulillah. You have a cold and kind of cough and cold here and there. Obviously, that's unavoidable. But the changes that we've seen have been amazing, and that's been by adapting to those guidelines that we followed on your course. 100%.
You know what to do now to help your daughter. Thank you, Khadija. I'm so happy you did the testimonial. And I understand why you wanted to blur your face because you didn't want friends and family to treat your daughter differently. But thank you, Green, for doing this.
And
No, that's fine. If it can help anyone, that's what I'm all for.